Love it. And some may say, Brandon, you're obsessing over Deshaun Watson these last couple weeks. Why is it? I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because of the New York Jets possibly having the opportunity to get their quarterback for over, like, what, it's been 50, 60 years? But look, when you're great on the field and you're great off the field, people talk about you. With all the trade rumors swirling, Deshaun Watson is still laying his roots in Houston. He has pledged 4 scholarships to kids in Houston. This is phenomenal. So 4 high school kids will be able to go to college because of Deshaun Watson. I absolutely love this. Awesome. And like I said, when you do good on the field and off, people talk about you. Keep it up, Deshaun.
That's great. Nice.
Oh, no off on the genius switch for your old buddy Kevin Wild. So when I saw this, I had to enter into the fray. Which NBA player would be the best in a cross-net rally? Is it LeBron? Is it Anthony Davis? Is it Kevin Durant? Well, I thought it was Chase Budinger, former University of Arizona great, who's now playing professional volleyball, or Kevin Love, who does a lot of professional volleyball in the offseason. Also, what is crossnet? While I was researching, I was like, what's crossnet? It's a sport that these guys invented. Chris Mead, Greg Mead, Mike Del Papa. Congratulations, guys. They're just like, let's invent a sport. We're in the golden age of inventing sports, Nick. So I encourage everyone out there, if you got some time today, invent a sport. We've got e-gaming, we've done frisbee golf, ultimate tag, bouldering, which is my favorite sport. Only one sport we need no more of: the Russian face slap. That we don't need that sport. It looks like over the top, minus Sylvester Stallone, the big face slap. Like,
minus the top.
I don't need that sport. Yeah. So everyone, we need to replace that sport. Get in your basement, get in your garage, invent a sport. Good job, fellas. Also, Kevin Love is the answer.
I would argue the golden era of when sports were invented was the early 1900s, when people were inventing basketball and professional football. Oddly enough, that's also, I think, the last time Major League Baseball understood how to induct people into a Hall of Fame. Folks, we must massively change the way we put people in the Baseball Hall of Fame in order to save the Baseball Hall of Fame. Because guess who's going in this year? Nobody. You know why? Because Baseball Hall of Fame voters, and I say this with absolutely no due respect, are collectively a bunch of jerks. That's the answer. I'm sure there's a few good ones, most notably the ones who work for the same network as me, but all the other ones, you can get out of here. So here's what we need to do. Until Baseball Hall of Fame voters get their act together, you know how we're putting people into the Hall of Fame? Twitter poll. That'll work. Guess who would get in the Twitter poll? Bonds and Clemens. Guess what? Guess who should be in? Bonds and Clemens. Maybe also Andrew Jones. You could argue about Curt Schilling, don't really care. But the fact that we have no people going in, and that means the all-time home run leader and the all-time Cy Young winner might fall off the ballot without getting in because these dopes are submitting blank ballots as some protest from a steroid era 20 years ago. Burn it all down, start over, fix the Hall of Fame, Jenna.
Great take.
All right. Hey, guys, what's the most popular start to any Oscar speech ever? Is it this? Wow, this was such a surprise. I had nothing prepared. I don't know what to say. The old humble brag. Nobody does it better than athletes, am I right? I won the scoring title. I didn't even know I was in the running for that. Oh, I broke the passing record. I didn't even know that was a thing. I wasn't even thinking about it. Athletes do it all the time. It's endearing. It's sweet. It's team before me or whatever that is. It's we before I. And I get all of that. You know who doesn't subscribe to that? Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was asked if he's got a speech written for his yet-to-be-announced MVP award, to which Aaron Rodgers says, I do. Not MVP. What are those letters? What is that? Is that most victories in a, period of time? No. And then sometimes people go too far, like the ridiculous stupidity of having no idea what something is. No. He's like, I do. Ask him, answered. It's a novel concept. It's a novel approach to life, and clearly Aaron Rodgers subscribes to it. I'm all for it. All right, it seems like eons ago, as we move on, that Russell Wilson was in the running for that MVP, the one that, Aaron Rodgers already has a speech written for. His star receiver, DK Metcalf, sat down with Brandon on the I Am Athlete podcast, talked about, among other things, Seattle's offense. Remember, it was cooking in the first half of the season, and it flamed out down the stretch. Take a listen to why DK thinks that was the case.
What happened to the Seattle Seahawks, bro?
Teams just started to figure us out.
Yeah.
We've been running deep past ever since Pete got there. It's play action, run the ball, and go deep. Team just said we just not gonna let y'all go deep. So
start taking that away, playing cover 2.
They figured us out, he said. Well, late last night, it was reported the Seahawks hired Rams pass game coordinator Shane Waldron as their new offensive coordinator. And so with that, Brandon, let me start with you. What changes you think the Seahawks have to make to be less predictable next season?
Well, first, Jenna, that was my first time ever meeting DK in person. And this dude is huge. I can see why he's so dominant on the field, because he probably just imposes his will on each and every play. I thought it was revealing. No, I wouldn't say revealing. I think it was more validating for him to say what he said, because everybody knows that. Like, everybody knows what the Seattle Seahawks does, and this is why why I wanted to talk about this a couple weeks ago. Like, Pete Carroll was in an interesting space. He could have potentially botched this whole Russell Wilson era. So when he made this decision to bring on this coach Shane Waldron, the passing game coordinator, I thought it was the best of both worlds, because everybody knows what they're doing. They're so predictable, and when it comes down to the Rams and what they do, you don't know. So to answer your question, what do they need to do? Number one, they need to shore up the offensive line. That's number one. You have a phenomenal quarterback that can get the job done, but if he's on his back, then you have no chance. But now let's get into this hire. Shane Waldron, and I'm probably botching his name. I never really heard of the guy, but I'm sure he's pretty good. The reason why I like this is because you get, Pete gets what he wants, Russell Wilson gets what he wants. Pete wants to run the ball on first, second, and third down. That's not going to be the winning recipe moving forward. But when you look at the Rams and break down what they've done when they've been successful and playing at an extremely high level, they've ran the ball. They disguised their passing game like, oh, yeah, we're a team to throw it around. No, they're not. Go back to 2018 when they went to the Super Bowl. I think they led the league in rushing. This year, they were on track to be one of the best rushing teams until they start imploding towards the end. This is a team that relies heavily on the run game, so you get that. And Russell Wilson is a guy that wants to get outside the pocket. This offense that the Rams have, and what Shane is probably going to bring over, the run game and passing game marries. They're going to get Russell Wilson out the pocket. He'll be able to go bombs away, but they also have some RPOs. They have a quick game. They have screen game. They have everything you want. So when you look at what DK said, Nick, this is why it's so validating, because everybody knew what they were going to do. Run the ball and then take shots. And now you can't do that anymore. So I absolutely like this if Pete Carroll gets out the way and let this guy work.
Well, that's a big if. Listen, I can educate the audience and you a little bit on Shane Waldron. Here's all you need to know about him. He knows Sean McVay, so he gets a big job in the NFL. It's the best way to get a job in the NFL is to have your father be someone important. The second best way is to, at some point, have a relationship with Sean McVay. Then you get the next big job. And by the way, Sean McVay's a really bright guy. I like Sean McVay. So maybe, the osmosis of being around him, he's learned some things. But this is about Pete Carroll. And this is about how Pete Carroll thinks you are supposed to win football games, which is don't take chances, run the ball, have it close, win it in the fourth quarter, which is absolutely how you're supposed to win football games if you're the 08 Bears with Rex Grossman as your quarterback and a great defense, but not if you're the 2021 Seattle Seahawks with Russell Wilson as your quarterback. And so I think that you are going to continue to have, Wilds, some frustrated offensive players unless Pete Carroll has a massive change of heart that I don't think is coming. And I don't think this hire is a sign that it's coming, because Brandon's right. The Rams are run first. They are a team that just wants to make sure the quarterback doesn't make a big mistake because they are very limited at quarterback and they have a great defense. And a couple years ago when Goff was playing well, it was because Gurley was the offensive player of the year. So I don't know that this is going to be the type of stylistic shift, Wilds, that's going to make DK Metcalf come on Brandon's podcast a year from now and say, there you go. That's the change I needed. I'm not optimistic about that.
So, Brandon, was your takeaway from your interview with DK Metcalf that he was happy with everything, that he was optimistic about the future, or do you think that it was more frustration overall with the way that Seattle's offensive philosophy is working?
Yeah, I think everybody in that building, even Pete Carroll, is frustrated and trying to figure it out. You have Pete Carroll, like Nick said, is stuck in his ways, and then you have players like DK Metcalf, Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, who's sitting like, what are we going to do next? We know we have everything we need in this life.
Far, like the ridiculous stupidity of having no idea what something is. No, he's like, I do. Ask him, answered. It's a novel concept. It's a novel approach to life, and clearly Aaron Rodgers subscribes to it. I'm all for it. All right, it seems like eons ago, as we move on, that Russell Wilson was in the running for that MVP, the one that, Aaron Rodgers already has a speech written for. His star receiver, DK Metcalf, sat down with Brandon on the I Am Athlete podcast, talked about, among